What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Codec, episode 7, our Mass Effect pre-week interview. We've got the lady and gentleman from Mass Effect Odyssey here today with us. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good.
Yeah.
Well, we are excited to have you guys here. I can't even begin to tell you. Here at the Codec, we have specialists on different games. My co-host Yong is a Metal Gear kind of specialist, kind of like you guys are in the Mass Effect world, doing theories, analysis, in-depth looks at his favorite game. But among the community, Mass Effect is one of our top and most enjoyable games that we have here, and we've been fortunate enough to interview some of the voice actors from it, including Shepard and Jack. So it's been fun to do it, and now with Andromeda on the horizon, I thought it was only right to have you guys on the show with the amazing YouTube channel that you have, looking at fan theories, your own theories, in-depth looks at lore and things like that. It's just amazing what you guys do, so thank you for that.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
It's it's hard to find somebody that takes the time and effort that you guys put in to your videos to look at every little detail and everything that's going on. So we definitely appreciate that. To start out, our first topic is what is your thoughts on Mass Effect as a whole? We've had the first 3 Mass Effects. We've got the 4th one on the way. That's, I guess, technically not in line with the first 3. So I guess starting with you, Ash, what's your whole thoughts on Mass Effect, and how'd you get started playing it?
Well, by accident, I'll be honest. I actually played Mass Effect 2 first.
Okay.
And I played through that, and I was living in my old flat at the time, and I just blasted through it every day after work for like 2 weeks straight. And to the point where my flatmate I was living at the time, she got into it and started watching me every evening for like hours on end, just playing it. and I was like, if I've just completed the second one, I should probably really play the first one.
Right.
So I went and found the first one kind of cheap and put it in. That was a long experience. Because I didn't fully agree with the control system that they had in it, and it took me a long time to keep going back and trying to keep my nerve to not get angry and throw my controller.
It was tough. It definitely was.
But I eventually completed it. I completed my 1 run through of Mass Effect 1 that I've done, compared to my 10 of 2 and probably my 13 of 3. But no, it is. I mean, I'm a big Halo fan as well, but Mass Effect is definitely my number 1 game series. Purely, I just love the space opera of it all, and I love the stories they make, and I love the characters that they put into it, and you talk about like being dedicated on our channel. I mean, they're massively dedicated to what they do, and I think that's kind of what draws me into it, and especially the characters. I mean, I know Rima kind of is basically in love with Garrus at this point, but
I'll admit it. Yeah, that's true.
I don't know who isn't in love with Garrus.
I know, exactly. You have to be like cold and heartless not to.
I would have to. I gotta tell you, in Mass Effect 2, I played the first one, and when I got into 2, I didn't expect to see him there, and it was just such a joy to see him in the what's that, the bottom parts of Omega.
Yeah.
I think they introduced him quite well though. So
they did. I had no idea. I literally had no idea that he was going to be there. I figured, it was just going to be another Turian species person. So that's pretty cool, man. Well, it's like you said, it's definitely harder to play that Mass Effect 1, even though it is a good game, it's fun and it's cool, but the elements at the time were just so hard to kind of implement with the third person cover mechanics and all that. But Rima, how about you? Where did you start, and how do you feel about the entire series of Mass Effect?
Kind of like Ash, it was just kind of purely by accident. I didn't start playing Mass Effect 1 until Mass Effect 2 had come out, and basically I was watching like Let's Plays and stuff, and I saw a Let's Play of like Mass Effect 2, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's completely right up my alley. Yeah. So I played Mass Effect 1 and 2 both on the PC, and number 3 on the console. Number 1 wasn't so bad for me compared to Ash on the PC. It was okay on the PC. And I got to Mass Effect 3, and by then I had met Ash at that point, and I remember like the first time we actually spoke, he's like, what's your favorite game? And I was like, Mass Effect, and he's like, Oh.
Yeah, same.
So basically, I think since I picked it up, I don't even know when I started playing it, but since then I've probably never picked up a game that I've enjoyed as much as Mass Effect 1 to 3.
Okay. Yeah, it's
my
tough.
thoughts, my thoughts on the trilogy or the games in general are just that, well, I love them. I love them so much. They're so in depth. They've got so much emotion in them. That's why I love them so much. They've got so much depth of story and characters, as Ash said, and that's legitimately the only game I've ever cried at is Mass Effect 3. Like, and I've never cried at a game since. I'm not ashamed.
No, you shouldn't be. I think myself and most of my viewers have probably cried during Metal Gear, so we have the same feelings.
So it's just the emotion of the game. I love how much feeling that there is in that game. So yeah, that's me. Oh. Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Um, we always discuss this because we've talked about it a number of times, and there's always a debate between the both of us. Yeah. I think Mass Effect 3 is my favorite game in the series. Just because it was, I think, not only was the story so, like, I guess, at high stakes. I know, I remember the first time I played Mass Effect 2, and I saw Garrus taken by, like, those collector bees. And, I have to say, my controller got dropped. I was just like, what? What? I didn't even realize I could do that. I didn't realize I could kill characters in Mass Effect 2. But Mass Effect 3 is just, I don't know, there's something about that game, and it's got this beautiful soundtrack, it's got this really, like, high tense story. It has some of the best, like, kind of scenes in the game trilogy, and it also has some of the best DLC. It has the Citadel DLC, which I think is my favorite DLC of all of them. Plus, what's really, really unique about that game is it actually has multiplayer, and I know some people, I guess, thought it was a bit of I don't know, cheap on BioWare's part to kind of tie it into the end game, but I love that because that game is still active, and it's one of my favorite multiplayer modes, like, ever in any game. So and I still play it and I still enjoy it. Sometimes I'm terrible at it, but I love Mass Effect 3, and as I said, it's the only game that's made me cry, so it gets my top spot.
It's close because where I played Mass Effect 2 first, I will always have that kind of little that kind of affinity with it. But Mass Effect 3 again is my favorite, just mainly because I think we're probably going to talk about it later on, the ending, but I'll save my comments for that. But just as a whole story and bringing, like, an entire, like, story arc to, like, a conclusion, and bringing all those, like, little stories, like, to an end, however you chose to do them, whether people died or whether they lived and survived and all that. I thought it was really good, and they tied everything off nicely, so they didn't have to go into a new game if that was what they were going to decide to do, following directly on with Shepard. Obviously, they're not doing that now. But yeah, no, and I just really like the overall story of the third one as well, and I haven't cried at any of the Mass Effect games, but I have come close. So, and Mass Effect
So
3
you
was
say.
the one that got me. Well, yeah. Of course, I'm going to lie now. I don't want to.
Yeah.
but no, Mass Effect 3 is just my favorite one. Very close to Mass Effect 2. So. Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, I was literally last night. We were in a call last night, and because we were kind of writing out little bits, and I said to her like my favorite part was the bit where like they're in the tube and, and they just kind of sat in there, and it's like I should go, I should go. And I was just like, it's hilarious. I love it. Yeah, well, I've already mentioned my first one. I have kind of two. My first one was the controls in Mass Effect 1. Infuriating at points. It seems to improve with the backwards compatible version on Xbox One, though. I don't get how that is. It seems smoother and a lot less finicky, but I don't know why. But yeah, it just angered me so much when I first started playing the first one, and it almost put me off completing the game. But I persevered and got through it. And I still love it. And like you were saying earlier on, the story of it is still extremely good. And for the beginning of a series and a big series as well, it was a very good. It was more than enough to help me cope with the fact that I did not like the controls. So I kind of got through it in the end. But the second one, and I think it's going to be the obvious one, is the ending of 3. Now,
I didn't like the ending?
Yeah, well, I didn't have a. Yeah, I know. It's shocking, I know.
Yeah.
But no, it's not the fact. I didn't have a huge problem with it. I'm a very simple guy. I take things how they're presented to me, and if I understand it, and if my brain basically doesn't try and have an argument with me, then I'm happy with it. Basically, so simple as simple does. But with the extended cut DLC, for me that kind of helped as well. I know a lot of people disagree, but at the same time, I can understand why people were disappointed, because when I first completed Mass Effect 3, I got the ending where I didn't realise that the multiplayer was tied to it. And then I just got where the ship lands on the planet. Spoilers for anyone who hasn't completed Mass Effect 3. But you land on the planet. Yeah, I know. But my door literally just opened, went tss, and then cut to credits, and that was it. And I was like, oh. And then I found out like a day later, I was like, oh, you have to play the multiplayer. Oh, okay. So, and then you have to get your EMS score up.
Right.
Yeah, so I kind of
I remember when I played they announced the extended cut, so I played the first time. I didn't realize we had to do multiplayer, and then I was in a call with you, and I was like, you know what? I've loaded extended cut, so let's see what happens. And I did it, and extended cut had loaded properly, and then again I got the really shitty ending, and I was really confused, and I was like,
that's great.
I was like,
you didn't know what was going on.
You said this extended cut would do something. You're like, it does. I was like, no, it doesn't.
But then you spent like an hour checking, and then you realised that it hadn't loaded properly, and you're like, oh, damn it.
Yeah, that is a terrible part about the DLC. A lot of it sometimes won't load especially if you're on PC with the Origins way things work over there.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you. I gotta say, for the endings, it wasn't the extended cut DLC that made me kind of drop my pitchfork and torch. It was the Leviathan DLC. After I kind of understood like how everything started and what was going on, it made a lot more sense for the endings, to kind of be like that, at least for me. But I think those are two valid complaints. Obviously, the controls got better, combat got a little better over time, but a lot of people are still upset about the colored endings, I guess, is what everybody seems to be upset about. How about you, Rima? What's something in Mass Effect that you would change?
Well, mine kind of goes with what you kind of said. I kind of wished Leviathan had been inclusive of the game and not part of DLC, because I think a lot of people would have had a lot of appreciation from the ending and been like, I get it there. Because there's so much extra dialogue with like the Leviathan DLC being installed, and it's a shame because I can see why people are kind of angry that they're missing all this lore. Other than that, I just wish the ending had been. It was fine. I think it was fine. I just thought it should have been like grander in a way, because it was like the final part of the trilogy. And some people have said maybe a boss battle that was like more epic. Even a face-off against like Harbinger, because he was maybe the big bad that we never actually get to like kind of say like F you to, like we never get to see anything. Like he just disappears. You see him fly away and then you never hear from Harbinger ever again. So other than that, I think the ending's perfectly fine. But I guess if I was saying a real big disappointment, I think there's so much of Mass Effect 1 I haven't played, not because the controls are difficult, but they are. It's because there's so many, like, when you get to go explore the planets and stuff, they're all basically just the same planet, and they're all just kind of different colors.
Yeah. In the Mako.
Yeah, in the Mako, yeah. What the hell, Bioware? Like, seriously, like...
I liked the Mako. I thought it was hilarious to drive that thing and flip it, and I was always trying to do stunts. I've got a playthrough on our YouTube channel of, like, there's a certain level where it's like, there's a lot of lava on the ground, and I had to restart that thing like 50 times just because the Mako just handles so bad. You drive into the lava, and even if you touch it just a little bit, it's like, dun 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 dun. You're dead.
I know there's like one side mission where you can actually encounter like Edie or something in Mass Effect 1.
Really?
And like, yeah, you can. Like, she's the like before she turned into an AI, the servers were testing her out as like a kind of like an AI controlling the turret system or something. And you can kind of go in like she's a rogue like AI or something.
Oh, is it the moon mission?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, okay. And you can go and see her. But like I remember like I was like in this Mako trying to get there, and then the thing just like starts to fly away, and you're like, you're like, you just give up. You just put the controller down, and it just starts to go away by itself. Like, I don't know. So I guess that's my most disappointing part of the trilogy is traveling around in the Mako in these like copy pasted like landscapes. But other than that, it's really 9 out of 10.
Gotcha. Well, I think you hit the nail on the head on a couple things. I think the Leviathan DLC should have probably been included, as well as the Prothean DLC. Like, those two probably should have came with the game. I actually thought the DLC where you go back and retake Omega, it was lengthy and it was cool. That's the kind of DLC I kind of would have liked to see. Maybe a couple more like that, and then the other two being included. With the game, but yeah, those are great points. But it's time to switch back onto a cheery subject. We'd like to talk about favorite cast and crew. Obviously, it's going to be impossible to pick one, so I'll let you guys pick a couple of your most memorable characters. Obviously, the Garrus is probably one of the most favorite around here. I think between myself and the co-hosts, we like Morden. He was really fun. Got a lot of fun dialogue. The singing was pretty hilarious. We liked that. Jax was obviously awesome. Loved Jax. We had her on here for an interview. Granted, we didn't really get to talk to her too much about Mass Effect because we were talking about the Fallout. She's the voice of the female protagonist in Fallout, so we didn't get to talk too much about Mass Effect, but it was still cool to have her on the show. And there's a couple other good characters. I think Ashley Williams was probably one of my favorite crew members. If I had to pick two, it's Ashley and Garrus all the time with me in the squad. So, what about you? We'll start with Rima this time.
Okay. So yeah, I don't even need to talk about Garrus. I love him so much. He is legitimately like your best bro.
Yeah, he is.
He's also the cutest love interest ever. That entire dance scene and like the DLC might be like one of my favorite scenes. Not to mention when like Manslayer on YouTube did like the bro shep version of that. Like he like did the gamer poop, which might be one of my favorite bits. But he's also the best companion, hands down, just because he's like the best skilled. He's got great wit, and I just love him. So other than that,
cool.
But other characters, I guess I love Legion. Ash knows how much I love Legion.
Legion's a cool character.
Ash and I met DC Douglas and Courtney Taylor at MCM Glasgow.
Cool.
And he can attest to how hilarious DC Douglas is to listen to. He's just so funny, and the thing is, you see that much kind of like bubbly energy, and how he managed to kind of like put that into you can't see me, but I'm doing a quotation, emotionless character.
Right.
But it's such an emotionless character that has so much soul, and even when Legion you can tell when Legion's telling a joke. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So I love Legion, and I guess if I was going to pick one more character, it would be Keith David's like Admiral Anderson. Yeah. He other than the fact that he's a badass, he's also got some of the greatest lines in the trilogy, and he's got the best scene when they're sitting in the Citadel, and he's basically like saying to Shepard, "I'm proud of you," and like every time I sit down, I just put my controller down and I watch it, and I'm like, Keith David, yeah.
Right, yeah,
So,
he nails it. He does that character very well.
So yeah, those are my like three. If I had to pick three, those are my favorite three.
Those are all great choices. In fact, I think we have DC Douglas next month coming on the show, so we'll make sure. He's amazing. He's in a ton of stuff as well, so it's going to be tough to kind of narrow down some things to talk about. We'll definitely bring up
get
his.
Get him to do some Wesker impressions, because
okay.
So good.
You got it. All right, Ash, your top 3 characters, buddy.
Well, my number 1, I'm going to be super boring and go with Shepard, because, why not?
Male Shep or femme Shep?
I'm going to go with both, because
Shepard
I did ordinarily go with male Shep, but my most recent playthroughs are all currently femme Shep, and I actually slightly prefer the dialogue more from Jennifer Hale.
Okay.
Only ever so slightly more. I still love Mark Mears. So.
I think Mark Mears is like funnier, like the way he like portrays lines, but I think Jen Hale's like way more dramatic.
That's a good point.
Amazing. They're amazing.
Yeah. So both of them in equal measure. I'm going to count that as one character as well.
Okay, no problem.
My second one again would be Legion, purely because of DC Douglas. Very funny guy. We got to meet him very briefly a couple of years ago, and Courtney Taylor as well. Both very nice people. And my last one, I would probably say I'm going to say Liara.
Liara's great. I
Cool.
like her arc. Where she's 100-something years old, but as a child. In Mass Effect 1, and you see that growth, and if the Shadow Broker stuff, just kind of, I'm like, damn, if she was scared to be in combat, she was imprisoned and all this kind of stuff, and now she's the one imprisoning people with her crazy biotic abilities. That's a great arc.
I will say, apart from the Citadel DLC, the Shadow Broker DLC is probably my favorite. Purely because I love how that ends, whereas like you end up beating the Arg, and then she just takes over. It's like, I'm the Shadow Broker now. Deal with it. So it's like, okay, cool, this is me now. So.
She's got that love for knowledge kind of thing. I think that's a pretty cool arc to her.
Yeah, definitely.
I like all of those characters. I mean, there's so many. Obviously, it's there's probably a ton more that you guys like, throughout the series and whatnot. But out of the main characters, I think those were all great choices. The next thing we want to talk about is moving on to our thoughts on Andromeda. Now, you guys have been covering all of the bits of news, articles, and things like that. So this is an all-encompassing question. So this one might take a little bit to talk about. Can you guys give me your thoughts on the state of Andromeda as a game in development? Your thoughts on what you've seen so far, your expectations. Just kind of talk to us about what you guys are expecting from Andromeda and your thoughts on some of the recent news and things that have happened to it. Ash, we'll start with you, buddy.
Yeah. Well, we did have a period where we didn't have a lot of news videos coming out because, as everyone's probably noticed, there isn't a huge amount of news.
No, there's not. I feel like it's a real real close to a Fallout thing where they're just going to kind of
Yeah.
announce it near the end of the year and it's going to be out by the end of the year kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think when Halo 5 was in its kind of like last year, and specifically it's kind of like last 6 to 8 months, it was like there was just nothing in terms of news. And then suddenly in the last few months they just smothered it everywhere. It's like news, here you go, here's gameplay, here's everything, here's game modes. And I think it'll probably be fairly similar to BioWare and with Andromeda as well. Because we've heard so little about it. I mean, we've literally had like the 2 trailers, some concept art, and other little bits and pieces here and there, but it's like morsels at this point.
Yeah.
And yeah, but
it's that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I'm cautiously optimistic. I will say that, because my worry always is when they decide to continue continue a franchise with a new game that's completely away from the original story. There's always that fear that they're just going to completely not do it right.
Yeah.
And it's going to go completely wrong, and the story's going to be nowhere near as good as the overall arc in the first 3 games. But from what I've seen, I'm excited by the trailer. I especially like the End 7 Day trailer, which that got leaked, and me and Reem went into panic mode that day. I spent the entirety of that day from about 4 o'clock in the afternoon up until about midnight, just making videos. We recorded 7 videos that day.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was a hard day. But yeah, it leaked, and then I got a link for it, and I was like, Rima, look at this. And she was like, what is this? I was like, it's a leaked trailer, I'm sure of it. And then we started to question it, and then they released it.
It's not real,
later.
no.
So it's like, maybe it's not real, and 10 minutes later they released it. It's like, oh, okay, it is real. All right. So yeah, but then we watched like the live stream for N7 Day and stuff like that. But
Okay.
But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I like the fact that they seem to be looking at mixing different elements from over the course of the original trilogy, like the exploration on the side of Mass Effect 1. It definitely looks like there's going to be some action in there purely going by the original trailer they released, because you've got Omni Tools stabbing people in the head.
Yeah, definitely.
So, you know, so it looks like it's going to be a good balance. The original trailer was captured in engine. I say this in my mystical air quotes. But if it looks anywhere near that good when it comes to the final game, then I'll be more than happy. So, because the Frostbite engine is a very good engine. So yeah. So I think overall I'm really looking forward to it. I just want more info about it. It's more than anything. Really. So yeah. But as a channel, I mean, a lot of people get excited about certain things, and recently it's been about the leaks and stuff as well.
Right.
And every so often we just turn around and think, oh, there might be another leak here. So there's too many leaks. It's like a colander you got in your hand at one point.
Yeah.
It's just, but then you have to kind of take into account what's real, what's not, and what's more likely and what isn't. And yeah, you just got to be careful with what you report, because it could end up being completely and utterly untrue. So
that's very true. There's especially on this this internet basis where a leak or a thing can pop up anywhere really. Whether it be Reddit or NeoGAF or somebody knows somebody, so you really got to kind of vet what's coming out and research that kind of stuff. So before we switch it over, I've got a couple questions for you. What are your thoughts on the amount of staff that have been leaving the Andromeda team? Does that concern you at all? Does it have any impact, or are you the kind of person who doesn't really let people leaving influences? There's a lot of people working on the team, so there's 2 ways you can look at it. You can look at it where they're leaving because their contracts are up or whatnot, or they're leaving for a certain reason. So what's your thoughts on that?
Well, Rima, I'll let you go first on that one, because I've kind of got my answer in my head, and it's kind of I think it's the same one I've always kind of said, really. So I'll let you go.
I'm pretty sure your answer's going to be pretty much what my answer's going to be in that. The game's on its end cycle at the moment, so it's basically. Right. I'm not saying it's ready to come out, but the writing work's basically done. It's all done.
Okay.
They're just doing the final touches. It's probably in a beta build at the moment, if not alpha beta. So people leaving is just probably contracts ending. It's the end of the game cycle, and they're moving on. And they're looking for new opportunities. I know why people would be scared, because there was a whole bunch of people starting with like Chris Wynn leaving, and I guess when Chris Wynn left, we were like, whoa, because he was really passionate about it, and we're like, well, what's happened? And he kind of he was always on Twitter, kind of speaking to fans, and then suddenly there was like a dark period, and then suddenly he just left, and then we were like, oh, I wonder what's happened. And now he's working for is it H1Z1?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess that was the first one that we were like, oh, what's happened here? But you're right. It's that there's so many people on a team, and one person leaving doesn't mean the team falls apart.
Exactly.
And writers leaving doesn't mean the story's falling apart. It just means that it's coming to the end of the cycle, and people are just looking for their next career move for the next 4 or 5 years of their life.
Right.
And for him, I guess he wanted to move back to the US. So
yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, so it was just probably made sense for him that he was going to be getting a promotion. He was getting to go move back home, and that's just the way life is. I'm not worried at all. So,
well, that's good. I think a lot of people fail to realize that, you know, on stories like this and in massive game worlds, it's not just one person that writes the entire thing anyways. You've got, you know, certain people are responsible for certain sections of, you know, the story and characters and things like that. So it's entirely possible that this guy's probably been done writing for quite some time and maybe was helping other people in his spare time and, you know, like you said, looking for other opportunities. So there's a lot of room for that. Now, let's talk about the way Andromeda is being marketed. I'm curious what you guys think. Obviously, with Mass Effect 1 through 3, you have this kind of this aspect of the game where it's not always 100%, you know, combat in your face, that kind of stuff. You have, you know, times where you can go to Omega or different like bars, and you know you've got the famous Ardok Yakshi missions and all that kind of stuff in Mass Effect 2. There's a lot of like areas. You got the crazy fan on the Citadel. There's a lot of like interwoven things in addition to you being, you know, this soldier or this you know, this commander. Now with Mass Effect Andromeda, you're looking at you know, a marketing campaign that's been, you know, you're an explorer, you're looking at new worlds, you're establishing colonies, so there might not be that kind of in-depth environment around you to do those kind of things. Does that stuff concern you guys at all?
Do you want to go, Ash?
So. Yeah, I don't think so really. I'm just trying to think. No.
No.
Sorry.
No?
Yeah, basically no.
That's a good answer.
From what I've seen of like everything that's come out, and in terms of direction of marketing, like it seems very heavy on the side of exploration at the moment.
Right.
Which is fine. I have no issues with that. I like the exploring part of it, despite what Rima said earlier on. They were basically just copy and paste planets.
Yeah, that's true.
Which was very disappointing, but it was still kind of fun when you landed the first one. And yeah, exactly, the idea was there, so they're kind of like laying the foundations much earlier on in the series. But it seems like looking at the concept art and things like that, they've got a lot of different environments planned and in mind, and looking to really change it up, which is good, definitely good. But I feel like they've done the whole exploration point, and obviously bringing back the Maker and making a big fuss of that as well. But I do think that kind of moving down the line as we get closer, and probably closer to, and I almost said E3, but I'm going to say EA Plays now, because they've got their own one now. Well, once we get closer to EA Plays, I think then they'll probably look more to the action side of it, and then kind of promote the action side of it up until closer to release, and then probably just mix it up and even mix towards release. So yeah, I'm not too concerned about the way they're going about it at the moment. So
I don't know. We might be looking at it more of a case of there will be like heavy exploration, and there may not be as many civilized worlds as there is in Mass Effect 1 to 3. But we might be looking more of I don't know. I guess of a Star Trek kind of theme, where like you're kind of coming upon like societies that are maybe less developed, or even star bases that have been established that are like kind of like off-worlds, like kind of like Star Wars, even like cantinas and stuff that are like a little bit like less advanced. I think there'll still be kind of like a social element. I think there might be even elements of like the underworld and stuff like that. It might be in a different kind of feel than Mass Effect 1 to 3 was, where it was really advanced. I think we might be going back to being, we're really advanced, but we might not be coming across everyone that's fully advanced yet. So I don't know. I think they love having fun, Bioware. So so they'll yeah. Oh.
Ooh.
Oh. There are theories. There are a lot of theories about how we're gonna get to the Andromeda Galaxy. We talk about theories all the time, and sometimes we sit there and we're thinking about we overanalyze everything, and then when we put a video out, we're like, oh, I think we may have ripped on a theory too much. I think it's important to have some reference in the fact that it depends on who's going. It also depends on the timescale. If they're going long after the events of Mass Effect 3, then of course it's going to be part of their history. If they're going at the same time of Mass Effect 3, they may not know what's going on and they might just speculate. But I guess you can look at it in the same way as like possibly something like, I don't know, the Blight in Dragon Age.
Right.
In Dragon Age Inquisition, the Blight's reference, it's obviously an important part of their history, but something bigger has come along to kind of take people's mind off it, and that's a big war between the Templars and the Mages and stuff like that. And it becomes a case of that it's in the back of their mind, but it's not in the forefront of their mind. So it's a reference, but not a huge part of the plot. So
that makes sense.
That's the way I look at it, yeah.
Okay. How about you, Ash? How are you feeling about the first 3 games and their impact on Andromeda?
Yeah, I think very similar to what you said. There will be a reference there, whether it be a very small one-off reference right at the beginning of Andromeda, or whether they're going to plan just to kind of interlink it at certain points throughout the Andromeda campaign and the story. Who knows at this point? A lot of people can say, well, yeah, they could have left before the end of Mass Effect 3, or they could have left after all the devastation and the Reapers are destroyed, or you control them, or they're all part of the same
that's the point.
DNA
It's got to have.
Yeah.
For me, there's got to be something there, because if you chose, one of those endings that's not destroy, it affects the galaxy as a whole. It may affect technology and how you get to the Andromeda Galaxy. Like, to me, it has to be. We were hoping for maybe like to reference what Rima was saying about Dragon Age, maybe like a backstory kind of little editor in the beginning. You can choose like a set backstory, or you can do a little custom one. Something like that would be nice in our eyes over here, but it just, for us, it has to have some sort of reference. I mean, it's a big event. It affects all the species in the galaxy. I know we're moving to another galaxy, but who's to say, in the Reaper's time, that they didn't expand their control to other galaxies? Maybe they harvest other galaxies just like they did the Milky Way. There's a lot of speculation and theories in that. So
there's a bunch of theories that could come into play, but at the same time they have an equal amount of things that kind of draw the theory back as well. So
right,
we just don't.
That ties right into the next question. What is or has been your favorite theory or speculation to this point? Rima, we'll start with you.
My one's one that we've kind of been talking about in some of our videos. I don't know whether we've done a full video on Ash, but we've kind of talked about it in like many videos that we've done, and it's about the main N7 character in the E3 2015 trailer, which was the N7 character who will not be the protagonist. And we have spent, I don't know about Ash, but I have spent hours upon hours trying to figure out who it could be. And I have this it's a title in my list of theories that I need to figure out. But as we've gone by, there's like speculation that possibly there'll be an antagonist of some sort, or there'll be someone who's got like a connection to the protagonist. And it's interesting because we've been discussing things like, you know, the Ghost Riders in the Sky song choice for the trailer, and like the recent like leak we talked about on our channel about how like the BioWare themselves asked these panel attendees what they thought of N7. They were really interested, and I like the idea that they're thinking of turning N7 on its head, or they want to kind of push the boundaries of what N7 means.
Gotcha.
And that's really interesting, the idea that maybe they're going to take something that's apparently infallible and make it fallible, even like what they did with like the Grey Wardens in their like in Dragon Age, and they make these heroes seem a bit tarnished. And I kind of like the idea that this N7 character is going to become like some big baddie. Like I hope I don't know if they're going to do it. It'd be interesting.
Right.
As I said, Ash and I always like, if we can have one theory that's true.
Yeah, it's true.
I'd like this one to be true.
Okay.
Very true.
So that's mine, yeah.
All right. Ash, how about you? Favorite theory or speculation going around for Andromeda?
Yeah. Well, part of mine is what is commonly known as the arc theory, which is basically, very simply, did they leave before the end of the third game, or was it much later on? Obviously, there's BioWare's own statement on their blog when they originally released the trailer saying this game takes place long after the events of Mass Effect 3. Doesn't necessarily say that they've had to travel that length of time to get there, hence why there's no mention of the original trilogy, because obviously it takes a huge amount of time to travel from our galaxy to the Andromeda galaxy, so there will be some sort of time frame there where you could probably play around with it a little bit. So yeah, but I'm really interested to see, because a lot of people reference that conversation that you had with the Asari Counselor at the end of the Priority Thesia mission, where it's like, you know, what was the line? I can never remember it. Contingencies have to be considered.
Right.
If the civilization must be considered, something like that.
So I've always found that interesting, and see if there's any kind of relevance to that particular conversation, which is basically very close to the end of the third game, depending on how you play it, of course. But the other one was the same as Rima. Like, why is this character that's the main focus of the first trailer that gets released for a major new game, not the main character that we're playing? Who is he or she?
Right.
So it always interested me.
Very. I think that's a good one, and I believe you have a video on that one, right, on your channel, the Arc Theory.
I don't know.
We've recorded I'll be honest, we've recorded a few.
We record at least 3 a week, so it's hard to remember.
I gotcha. All right, I think I remember seeing it on there and hearing you speak about that particular subject, so it's quite possible. Before we switch out of theories, though, knew this question was coming. You guys got to give me your thoughts on the indoctrination theory.
No.
It's Mass Effect. You can't not talk about it. I mean, this guy spent. I mean, how many? He's got like 3 or 4 documentaries on this thing.
There's 3 parts, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so we got asked to do this on our channel as well. Someone asked us. Well, actually, more than one person asked us. They were like, "Can you give us your thoughts on indoctrination theory?" And we did a video on it. Right. Just kind of talking about our thoughts. We're biased. These were just basically our opinions. People did not like us for that.
No. We stirred up a bit of the controversy on that one. They didn't like us for our thoughts on it. So yeah. But,
I'll go first.
Well, you're safe. You're safe here. You're safe here.
I'll go first, and then Ash can tell you what.
Okay.
He's nicer about it than I am.
Okay.
Yeah. I like the theory. It's a great conversational piece. I think it's a really, really nice theory and it's well thought out. There's a lot of evidence in there that I cannot explain, like the whole 1M1 thing and the whole like the bodies in the sun, like the side of like the run up and things like that. That kind of stuff I just can't explain. But I don't know. I just think it's an excuse to kind of try and talk their way. Like, I think they think that BioWare had a big giant plan, and
I think so as well.
It's like, the ending is actually fine, and there's a lot of depth to the ending that people just don't want to see because they're disappointed in it, and they want something else, and so they're wanting the indoctrination theory, and it's good, but I think what it does is it makes it seem that I think my biggest gripe with the theory is that fact that it means that 2 of the 3 choices you get at the end of the game are apparently wrong.
Right.
And I just don't think BioWare, as a company who basically built all their games on like player choice, would be like, oh no, but technically only 1 is right and the other 2 make you like a horrible murderer. Like, it's not. I just don't think that's the way BioWare roll. But it's a really great theory. It's like the best starter theory ever, like for any game I think ever. But I don't subscribe to it. So
Okay.
That's
All
your
right.
turn.
As Rima said, I'm kinder about it. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm in the same camp. I don't fully subscribe to it purely because as much evidence as there is for it, you could find equally as much evidence against it, and it's very easy to find. I enjoyed the first documentary that he did.
Mm-hmm.
The second one was kind of just like an update one, really, so it wasn't really too much being added on. But he kind of lost me in the third one.
Yeah.
Where
there's a lot of patronizing going on in the third one as well.
No, he kind of lost me in that. I was like, so was this the point you were leaning to for the whole like 4 hours that I've watched for these 3 things? Because he kind of lost me at that, which was a shame. Had he just left it at the one, I think it would have been a much more popular theory.
Yeah, I think so as well.
But I don't. Yeah, I don't subscribe to it purely because the evidence that is picked out is picked out conveniently.
Right.
I like.
That's a very good point.
And you could easily go into the game and say, well, actually, I could pick that bit of evidence there and present it to you just as easily if you present that to me saying it's for the theory, and I could just say, well, actually, this bit of evidence says it's not for the theory. So, and it would be just as easy, and it would be just as right as he would be trying to be, I suppose. But no, again, I love theory stuff. I love like conspiracy theories, and especially gaming stuff as well. I
Of course.
absolutely love it. And this is one I like as well. But yeah, for the reason obviously I've just given there, I don't subscribe to it myself. So
Okay. Well,
yeah.
I think I'm right on board with you. I enjoyed the documentary, the first one. I felt like, as time went on, the theory was more. It turned into more of like you guys were saying, more argumentative type things, and it was like, if you don't believe this, then you don't know anything about Mass Effect, that kind of thing. It kind of lost me after the first one. Granted, like Rima said, it's definitely like it's thought out. He did a good job at presenting this and that and whatnot, but it just wasn't for me. It didn't make a whole ton of sense. I think overall, with the ending for Mass Effect, there was obviously the dark matter ending that got scrapped because it was leaked or something along those lines. So I feel like they had to put something together kind of quickly. Granted, I probably would have just left it, the way it is, because a lot of people get upset with spoilers and things like that. But if you don't have context for the spoiler, it's not really as bad as maybe a lot of people made it out to be. So I guess that's one ending. We'll never know. I think when we had Mark on the show the last time, we asked him what he thought about it. He didn't subscribe to it either. And I think in his words, Commander Shepard survived the attack and opened up like a lemonade stand, I think is what he said. So he said he was
sounds about right.
Yeah, he was just done with the whole thing after that, getting blown up and whatnot. So he went and opened up a lemonade stand. But we're getting near the end of the show, so as I told you, I'd like to give you guys a few minutes to kind of talk about anything that may be on your mind or any kind of news or updates that you guys have. So Ash, did you have anything predominant that you might like to chat about?
Not really. I mean, we did a news video probably a few days ago, 4 days ago, I think, and it was about another leak, of course, and that was kind of discussing the points of the leak, and the big thing at the moment seems to be about no loading times, and everyone seems really excited about that. I don't mind loading times. I don't like them being like Destiny loading times, where you literally sat there for about 4.5 minutes. But I don't. I have no problem with loading times, because if the game's good enough, then I don't have a problem with it. But at the same time, it'd be an awesome jump to just have a game where you can just seamlessly go from one area to another and go from planet to orbit, and then if it's seamless, then
Right.
almost seamless, then it'll be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think
But,
on the loading times, I think that you make a good point. Like, they don't have to be like specific. The screen's blank and it says loading. You do something, where you have the mass relays that shoot you across places, or to use a more recent example, in the Division, there is a loading time in between the normal zone and the dark zone where it's you're jumping over a fence and that's where it loads. Or in Mass Effect 1's classic case, the elevators. Disguise it. They should have one of those in there just because. Like, there needs to be one time where you're just kind of stuck in an elevator for a few minutes as a reference. I think that would be
Everybody
clever.
loves an elevator.
I think
in
that.
Mass
loves those
Effect 2,
elevators.
in Mass Effect 2, when the elevator reference got brought up, Tali threatened a shotgun. So
True.
I don't know.
That was another great character we didn't really talk about. I love Tali.
That's
She
true,
was great.
yeah.
She was great.
I will also point out that the one thing that can really rip you out of like a good gaming session in Mass Effect is when you get to a really climactic point in the game and it says change to disc 2. That's the most important thing in the world. Yeah, 2 and 3. It's guilty. Both games are guilty of it. It's like, okay, I'm going to do this bit right now. Change to disc 2. God damn it!
Oh, wow.
So I've got to get up, put the disc in.
It's okay. It's not a bother anymore because we're now in. Well, what we say current gen, and the discs are so much better. You don't have to worry.
Yeah. Luckily, I played everything on PC digitally, so everything was there. I didn't have to do that. Thank goodness. Right. The old school stuff, man. I tell you that.
My console had the battery.
But as long as they do it in a cool way, I think I'm not familiar if you guys know, but in Metal Gear 1, I don't know if you guys have ever played it, but there's a part where you have to change out the discs, and it's like a fourth wall breaking kind of thing. Like they tell you, like you get like a call on your little headset, and the guy's like, all right, Snake, you need to change out the discs or something, something along this line.
My brother told me about that. He was big into Metal Gear when it first came out. Yeah, I remember him telling me about that. That was fun.
Yeah, they did that, and then as Rima was saying, with the technology now, they did that same joke in the fourth game. They were like, all right, Snake, you need to change the disc, and they was like, wait, we're on a PlayStation 3. You don't need to do that. Like they break that fourth wall down to have a little fun. But I think the no loading times they're not necessarily so important as long as there's like like you said, a seamless interaction for that loading time. With Andromeda, though, I'd like to ask you guys before we close up. Then, unless Rima, did you have something that you wanted to talk about?
Not really. I guess the only thing that we've kind of seen people get really concerned about on our channel was there was obviously that information about like how people were speculating that Andromeda was going to get pushed to 2017.
Yes.
And we did a news video on it because we like read up on it and stuff, and we're like, we don't think it's going to get pushed back because we've not heard anything. But there was like mass panic. Like people were like panicking, and it's like even if it did get delayed, guys, it's literally going to be like what 3-4 months.
Yeah.
Don't panic. But yeah, no, that was probably the only thing that I think of recent is like just calm down. Let BioWare do their thing. They'll announce at EA Plays. I think they'll announce either a date or a month.
Yeah.
They might say come in November. We're putting our bets it's November at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I think, like I said earlier, to reference Fallout, they did their presentation at E3, and then the game was out that following November. So it's not uncommon. I think a lot of companies are kind of getting on that quick hype train where they release a little bit of information here, a little bit of information there, then at some event like E3 or EA Plays, they'll release a lot of information, and then for the next month or two a lot more info, and then the game will be there by the end of the year. I think that creates a better selling factor for the game, because then people won't forget about it.
Yeah,
so I mean, that's what we can hope for, because if it is delayed, even if it is 3 months, I will be sad. I will definitely be sad. I've been waiting patiently for this one.
We're all just going to have to play The Division until, I don't know, Deus Ex comes out, and then play that for another 4 months.
Yeah. I'm playing The Division for Garrus, okay? He's
I know, right?
He's as soon as I heard him, I just recently got a PlayStation 4, and I was playing the game there, and he talks to you through the controller, because he's supposed to be like an AI kind of person called Isaac, I think. And I was like, is that is that Garrus? And I got on Twitter and I was like, Brandon, is that you? And he's like, yep, that's me. And it's like he's got that really distinctive voice,
yeah.
and it's amazing how not computer generated it is when you would think it is.
Yeah. It was he was in Fallout as well, isn't he? Isn't he an NPC you can run into? Yeah, and I'm not a big Fallout person, but as soon as I heard that, I was like, must check out, must find out. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I think that's cool. Well, then to close up, I've got to ask you guys, what is a feature or gameplay mechanic that you would like to see implemented in the new series for Mass Effect? Rima, we'll start with you. What's something that's kind of been missing that you would like to see?
So, the best part of like any Bioware game, and especially like Mass Effect, was dialogue and relationships and things like that. They're the best. They're untested and they're undefeated in like how they do that. What Mass Effect's missing compared to like Dragon Age like Inquisition was the fact that people can kind of be pissed off with things you do. And
yes.
I think that Mass Effect can take that to a whole new level and get like a more like kind of complicated relationship with your companions. They're not just the people who like sign up to help you. They're people who you basically have to get along with, and the idea that they can basically just like walk out on you because you're being a douchebag might kind of change this idea of like Paragon and Renegade, and it also might make small choices a little bit more significant. It's what I'm kind of most looking forward to. I'm kind of wanting to see how they kind of do romance, dialogue, and like companionship in this new game. That's what I always look forward to. I know that they're gonna get the story, I know that they're gonna get the gameplay, and I know the graphics are gonna be great. It's always that. I'm always like, how are they gonna make it better? And only other thing I really want is more hair options, people. Like, I think that's when they announced Mass Effect Andromeda, Ash and I did like, what do we want or something like that. I think my first thing was, can we please have more hair options, please? Like, legitimately.
Yeah.
Like, there's like mullet, bun, mullet, something like kind of short hair.
Yeah, there wasn't very good, at least for the female character. There definitely wasn't a lot there. It had that real military hairstyle. Like, no compromise on that. So.
No, so relationships and hair. I'm such a girl. That's me.
All right, Ash. What are you looking forward to being put into the game? If you could put something in there yourself, what would it be?
I don't think I can top Remus, to be honest. I mean, hair and relationships. I mean, my God. Honestly, I don't know, because
better makeup.
Yeah, well, that's true.
He always every time he gets like a character that he can make up, they're always wearing like hot green for some reason. So.
Hey, I make all my characters' hair blue, so.
That's what I will say, and it's something that I know they're probably aiming for now anyway. It is customization, not just armor, but like your resting clothes, like if you're in the ship or like on whatever the new version of the Citadel is. I'm assuming it's going to be the big ship that was in the trailer. But yeah, so like just customization to like really like make your mark on your character, kind of thing. Because I felt like you could kind of partially do that.
Yeah, it was real.
And like Rima was saying, I changed the color of my armor to a very high kind of foresty green. Because green's my favorite color. I can't help it.
It was green, and then there was one playthrough that was like hot pink as well.
Oh yeah, that was true. Yeah. I decided to change. I want to change, but yeah, no.
It's intimidating.
In terms of hair and that, I didn't really like mine too much because I always played like just a standard Shepard character, whether it was male or female. So I kind of with the female one, I always changed it to like red, like proper red hair, because I always like red hair for some reason. I don't know why. But other than that, the male Shepard stayed exactly the same, other than the armor color. So, but yeah, I hope for a lot more in depth in terms of customization, and that's for armors, just your normal clothes as you're walking around, guns, everything really.
Right. So, okay. Well, we've got. Sorry, Rima, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say there's one more thing that I was gonna add, and I think that's something that both Ash and I probably would have liked from Mass Effect 1 to 3. Is there's a minor co-op mode. Because we played Mass Effect 2 to 3 like together via Skype, because he was trying to get like certain like like personal achievements? Would you say that, Ash? Would they be personal achievements for yourself?
For Mass Effect 2, it was the No Man Left Behind achievement.
Okay.
And if I remember rightly, when I finally got it and we were in the call at the time, I basically tore your ear hole out with screaming excitement because I'd finally got it. And in Mass Effect 3, there's no achievement for it, which there should have been, which was getting the Geth and the Quarians to work together, which I can never do.
Oh, yeah. That's tough.
Even how we do that. And I was like, finally. And I was like, okay, we're getting in.
I still don't know how to do that. I think I'm actually playing through the game now, so it's something I'm gonna have to kind of do some research on and figure out how to do that. I probably already messed it up. Probably some crazy choice I got to make in the comic section where you get to choose all of the.
There's like a whole bunch of stuff you have to do in Mass Effect 2, and there's like these mini things you have to do in Mass Effect 3, and then you have to have so much power going on Renegade. It's like a little like add-on. So, so I guess like a mini co-op section. Even it doesn't have. I don't think it should be the whole game, but even if there's like small sections where you can jump in, jump out.
I think that would be cool.
A la Halo, I guess, right? Like.
I think certain games do like full campaigns of co-op, and I think certain games that does work. And like with Halo, for example, they've done it for every single game, and it's always worked well. Well, apart from Halo 3, because I've never played with people.
Or
Halo
5 can't do local co-op.
Well, we played because me and Rima played. Because Rima lives in Scotland, I live in the south of England, so we've got a fair distance between us. But we played through the Halo 5 campaign, no problem, didn't we? We didn't have any issues with that.
Well,
so, well,
like one of the Spartans was suicidal for some reason, tried to kill himself.
Yeah, but that's just dumb. That was dumb.
Well, I think Mass Effect works because you always are going to have a companion with you. There's rare times that you go solo, so it could be drop in, drop out, where you play the other person's squad member, as long as it's a squad member. I don't see why it would be game breaker or anything. Especially from what we've heard is the AI is supposed to be much better now, and things like that. I think there was a recent news article talking about that. I think for us, there was two things, and we'll get your opinions on them. The first was the enemies have to be more logical. BioWare's gotten in this really, really bad habit with Dragon Age 2, ever since that part of their lifespan, where they just enemies just kind of pop out of nowhere. Mass Effect's always had a kind of edge on that, where they try and make it seem like troopers are coming out of ships and things like that, but when you get and you're talking about the Reaper forces, they'll kind of fall out of the sky just out of nowhere, or just appear from behind a wall or a corner. Stuff like that kind of breaks immersion in gameplay for us here. So we're hoping they fix something like that, just kind of make it more believable where your enemies are coming from and the type of forces that you're fighting. And then the other one was the lack of companions in 3 was a little disappointing. Obviously, you got the Prothean that you could bring along, but Mass Effect 2, where you could have that huge roster of companions to bring in, and they all had different types of personalities, like Kasumi and I forget the guy's name, the English guy with the messed up eye.
Zaid.
Yes, those, and then some of the additional characters that you can get were really, really fun, and like having optional ones was great too, like Legion. Whether you destroy him or keep him, that kind of thing makes the gameplay a lot better. So we're hoping. We've heard there's only going to be the 2 attachable teammates while you're in combat, but we're hoping the roster selection will be a little bigger and a little more diverse in the races. What are you guys' thoughts on that, Ash?
Yeah, I think what you said with kind of a lack of squad mates in Mass Effect 3. For me, that entirely depended on how many I managed to kill in Mass Effect 2.
Well, you can't take Morden with you or
I killed most of them in 2 anyway. So. But yeah.
I wanted to bring Miranda with me, and you couldn't. Like that kind of stuff was a little aggravating.
Yeah, it was.
It's okay. Yeah, he let Miranda die in Mass Effect 3.
No.
Accidentally, because I forgot to save on the Citadel.
And then Rex died in Mass Effect 1, and then.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, I had the Genesis thing. It was fine.
Yeah.
I could save it all in the end, but yeah, no. I don't know. I think I would probably go along the same line. Maybe like there was a small lack of characters in 3. I probably agree with you on that one. But I didn't really concentrate on it too much, to be honest, because I'm very much into the story. So
right.
I can't. My first playthrough of any story-based game is always play the story through once, see what it's like, and then do all like the hard modes and all the other bits and DLCs later on, kind of thing.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
It was always all about the story for me, and then the side things like characters and stuff comes in later on. So, but no, it's I didn't have any like major concerns.
Okay. Yeah, I think as far as that goes, what we mean is not necessarily like equipable squad mates, but like Thane and Miranda, like their interactions were so minuscule.
Oh, kind of limited, yeah.
Yeah, those were my buddies in 2 and 1, and like there's Thane, for example, is a great idea. He makes the kind of strongest showing, with his his character fighting the assassin guy from Cerberus. Like that kind of thing was pretty cool, but there was a lot of characters that just kind of get swept under the rug, and you don't really get a lot of interaction with them besides their kind of final moments. Like with Morden, I would have liked a little more than just, all right, here I got this genophage thing, and then I don't hear from him for a while, and then now he's here curing it, and what goes on behind the scenes, all that kind of stuff. I guess also is important, depending on like your choices in your previous games of how much dialogue you get with them. But having a cast like that, I guess, is what I'm saying. It will be important going forward. I hope they have just a big, wide of range of people to interact to and talk to, as they did across the whole trilogy of 3, just in Mass Effect Andromeda.
I think they've got a big job to follow there as well, because the characters they made throughout the whole the original trilogy, they made all these characters that everyone basically just fell in love with. Yeah. And now they've got to do it. They've got to do that all over again with people with people we don't know, and that's got to be so like scary for them. It's like, okay, we got to just try and not piss off everyone in this game. So,
They could fix the problem of like having, I guess, less character, or even having like less interactable time. But even if they have good party banter, like that was kind of like not even just scripted banter that just appears when you're, because if there's going to be times in the game where you're going to be wandering a lot, it's good to have like unscheduled party banter that kind of pops up.
Casual conversations.
Casual conversation between different characters, and different combinations will have different banter, and they have done that in different games before, where triggered banter happens between different characters, and it's always different depending on what combination you take.
Right.
And I don't know about you, but like I think for like Inquisition and stuff, I tried like every single combination to see what people said, and then it led to like little side stories, like different characters getting with each other depending on how many you took, with like which combinations you took. So I really enjoyed that, and I think they'll be fine with the characters they pick as long as there's nobody that's boring. Fine. I do see what you mean about logical AI though. I remember there was like in Mass Effect 2 where you're fighting is it like in Grunt's loyalty mission, and you're doing that bit where you're fighting the Thresher Maw thing, and it's in like the trials, and then there's all these like these enemies that just suddenly start spouting out from this hole in a wall, or they start like falling over like us, like they're coming downstairs, and you're just like, where are they coming from?
Where'd they come from? That kind of thing just it breaks the immersion of the story if it happens too repetitively. I think the example that I gave with Dragon Age is where it started, where like enemies were just spawning out of the floor and the ceiling, and I was like, I just cleared that area, and then you started to see some of the similar things in Mass Effect. It wasn't, like I said, really that bad with the Cerberus troops. Like they always had like a transport plane or whatever to bring them in. But when you're fighting like Reaper forces and they're just kind of like popping out of nowhere, and I'm like, that is annoying. I just cleared this area, and now there's a bunch of guys there. That kind of stuff kind of just bothers me from a gameplay mechanic. As long as there's a reason or a place where they're coming from. Like a game like Gears of War, which I haven't played in so long, but the enemies would come out of like a tunnel or a hole that you could blow up, and then they would stop coming out of there. Like that kind of gameplay made more sense, and hopefully they'll have something along those lines, at least just to kind of help with immersion, especially if, like you guys mentioned, it's going to be a lot of exploration and things like that. You're going to want to kind of reason for things like going on around you, because everything will be new. So I think all in all, those are some great and fun gameplay points. We talked a lot about. Excuse me, I gotta sneeze. We talked a lot about different things from the original Mass Effect trilogy and Andromeda, and we can't wait to see what goes on. Before we get out of here and close up shop, I did want to offer you guys a little, I guess, perk or benefit for coming on the show. We really appreciate you guys coming on and spending some time with us. So when we do our Mark Meir and Brandon Keener interview, we are going to invite you guys back to come on at the end of the show, and if you have some questions, we'll let you ask them directly.
Wow.
So yeah,
you are aware that I'll be speechless and I'll be like, oh my god.
Well, you've got
in the corner crying. So
you got some time to prep. You got some time to prep. If the schedules allow it, usually they take place around the same time. So if the schedules allow it for you guys, we would love for you to come back. If not, you can like the sheet says, you can submit your questions to us and we'll ask them on your behalf if you guys for some reason can't make it. But we figured that would be the kind of best thing for us to do for you guys for taking the time to come on the show now.
We'd love to come back. Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'll tell you right now, Mark won't talk about Mass Effect 4. I don't know why. He may have something, maybe a small little speech thing, or maybe some lost tapes in there. But usually, we've kind of found through our interviewing of voice actors, I think we've interviewed probably about 53 different voice actors. If they won't absolutely talk about it, they probably have something to do with it, whether it be a small advising role or even a small flashback scene. That we had a lady that was in Metal Gear for literally all of 2 lines, and she just wouldn't confirm whether she was there or not. So it could. And Mark's a funny guy, so he could be trolling us, but you never know. So we'll have them on here, and you guys can ask any kind of questions that you have. The cool thing that they do for us on this particular show is they'll be in their character. So it'll be like talking specifically to Shepard or Garrus. So
that makes me so much more nervous.
Exactly, right? Exactly.
I'm not talking to Mark Meir, I'm talking to Commander Shepard.
Exactly. That's what we like to do here. Our show is mainly about interviewing voice actors and gaming news and things like that. So we like to have a little fun with it. But so we definitely appreciate you guys coming on. Is there anything else you guys wanted to say before we get out of here, Ash?
Just thanks for having us on. We've had actually a really good time,
Yes,
and
definitely.
this is the first kind of thing we've done like this, where we've actually been invited on to something since we started this new channel. So we really appreciate it. Thank you very much for having us on.
Oh, no problem. You guys do a fantastic job, and like I said, that's kind of the point of what we do here. We like to have interactions with community members and our voice actors that bring our favorite characters to life in these games. So it's definitely a pleasure to have you guys on here, since you break down all the news, information, and theories on the games that we love. Rima, anything from you before we leave?
Much to what Ash said. Thank you very much for having us. We started the channel as basically I don't know, a hobby, I guess. We're we like Mass Effect.
It was a side project at first, yes. So.
We're let's just talk about Mass Effect and just do a channel about that. And then people started to actually enjoy watching us talk about Mass Effect, and we're like, okay, let's make this the full-time channel. And it still kind of amazes us that people actually come and actually watch us. So thank you very much for actually inviting us and allowing us to just talk about a game that we love talking about. So
definitely, no problem. To stay up to date on these guys, for all of you watching live on the front page and in our chat box here, you can check them out on Twitter. It's at ME Odyssey. You can check out their individual Twitters, which are listed right underneath the 2 pictures that we have. And then obviously you can check out their YouTube channel in YouTube. It's Mass Effect Odyssey. Do you guys have a URL? Is it youtube.com/Mass Effect Odyssey?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the right one.
Perfect. Yeah, check them out for all of the latest and up-to-date news on Mass Effect, theory videos, news leaks, spoilers, all that kind of stuff. Well, I don't know if you cover spoilers, but news leaks and things of that nature. Make sure you guys give them a follow on Twitter and subscribe to their YouTube channel. And come back and see us next week when we talk to Commander Shepard and Garrus, Mark Meer, and Brandon Keener of the Mass Effect 1 through 3 trilogies. It will be quite fun. So, again, thank you guys all for watching. We will see you on the next episode of the Codec.